Well, I think we can get started here. Just to let everyone know that this webinar will be recorded and it will be available for everyone for distribution, as well as the PowerPoint slides. So I think we have an exceptionally interesting topic to cover today, which is industry trends of moving towards Industry 4.0 and being able to finance that through various different government funding sources. So really, it's all about increasing manufacturing efficiency, using the advanced technologies of IIoT, and making sure it's financed properly to be effective for you in terms of your business. So with me today is Igor Shigrin. Igor's the principal of Fair Grant Writing. He's focused exclusively on raising funds on behalf of his clients, and he'll tell you all about some of the backgrounds, case histories, some of the ways to do this sort of thing, and the types of programs that are available here, and those sorts of efforts to make it happen. So from an agenda perspective, introductions and welcome, of course, but I'm going to start with the 5 easy steps about how you can get to Industry 4.0 and talk about impactful continuous improvement and the value proposition. Ultimately building the business case, because it has to make sense. We're all about money in terms of finance here for manufacturing to make money, but to finance programs with money, make sure the business case makes sense. We'll show you what it looks like in terms of actual demonstrations, some of the benefits, and of course, good discussion in regards to the type of funding that are available that's out there. So let's give you a simplified goal of this presentation. You can invest 1 times in data-driven manufacturing technology today to return 2 to 4 times that amount every year in the first year and every year thereafter. So it's all about business, unlocking really your hidden factory. And productivity and profitability are intrinsically interrelated, hence the combined topic in terms of this overall presentation effort. So how do we get to there? Well, let's look at 5 easy steps to successfully implementing industrial Internet of Things. So step 1, connect. Step 2, visualize. 3, analyze, optimize, and monetize. So it's really all quite easy in terms of moving forward. Connecting is a lot of depth in terms of making sure each of the machines are connected. There's a lot of work involved here, making sure each of the connectivity in terms of IP addresses and everything else connected, various different protocols and so on. But all this has been proven and shown and is available today. Industry standards such as MT Connect have come out only in the last decade time frame. So it's really, this is where the technology has moved forward. OPC has been around for a while, various other software protocols and so on. It's all about connecting. But once you're connected, that just gives you a connection. Now you have to visualize that data. What does it mean? Represent it in terms of your operations and your business. And I'm going to show you some of the capabilities here to visualize and see what's on the shop floor. But now you want to analyze that data, making sure that you've hitting your best ever type of events, making sure your metrics are correct, making sure you know what's downtime, running Pareto charts and so on. This is all going to drive the types of success. But you're not making money here. You're just analyzing and working with the data. Optimizing is where the advantage is going to come in. Take the particular data, work with it, optimize your operations, and that way you really monetize in terms of the end results and the efforts here. So this is all about having impactful continuous improvement, which can be your competitive advantage. If you can measure it, then you can manage it. So the trick here is, what are you going to improve? Better root cause analysis, improve uptime, improve quality, on-time delivery, real-time tracking, measurably improve your profitability. But you can also reduce and identify your bottlenecks faster, reduce unplanned downtime, reduce setup and changeover times, minimize unproductive labor, eliminate manual data entry, reduce your costs and your waste. So all these things combined really start to get benefits for you. If you looked at the very simple Kaizen process, 7-step process, traditional, go out in the shop floor, stand around the machines, watch what's going on. Well, you can even minimize this and reduce it. Why? Because you can start when taking things like making problems visible, manually collect the data, root cause analysis. Well, guess what? With an IoT connected system, you just run the report and see it. Don't waste your time on data collection. Actually take a look and see it. Same with testing various different solutions, manually collect data. Again, run a report to verify that everything works properly. So here's how you start to get to efficiency, because you're seeing the direct results of what's happening on the shop floor. Simple little things. It's not any one silver bullet. It's 1% here, 2% there, 3% there. Often it's in the 10 to 50% productivity increase. Of course, it varies by every company and their operations, but if you can measure all the details, you can add up those details, that's where you're really going to get significant benefit in terms of moving forward. The simple thing to look at is a lot of companies run in the 40 to 50% utilization of their machines, where world-class OEE is 85% or better, as they're identified on the right-hand side. There's much time in the 5 classic big losses that are wasted: machine time, shop time, reporting, job, and maintenance time. If we can minimize those, that maximizes the utilization of the machine, get the best benefit for assets, and we can go forward accordingly from there. So let's look at the business case. Well, let's take a simple example, as I was just talking about here. 39% utilization. Can we get up to 85%? Let's understand all the losses and areas that we're working with. We can look at the current state versus the future state, and then sit back and say, okay, how do we translate that to minutes per hour per machine? So we'll relate those same numbers to minutes per hour per machine. So again, pre-implementation versus post-implementation, and then work it through. There's a very sophisticated spreadsheet. I've got samples of these. I can work with anybody that wants to in terms of their own individual situation. But let me just kind of walk through very simply put. We can break it down to minutes per hour, look at the 5 impactful CI areas to work with, look at the minutes per hour we can see, relate those to machine, job, shop, or maintenance. Then we can start to put together numbers in terms of related here, estimates. Say it's 20 machines, 10 of them require hardware. There's a lot of detailed data here. I'll go through it relatively quickly, but just to explain, there's much information that you can work through here. And what we're seeing here is a 55% OEE of a factory moving to 64.2% OEE, which translates to a 16.7% throughput gain. So this is significant in terms of just a few minutes of savings. 5.5 minutes per hour per machine of savings generates a 16.7% throughput gain. What does that relate to dollars and cents? Well, let's take your assumptions. What's your current fully burdened cost per machine? Look at the various different costs, your times, your work days, and your efforts, and so on. Project costs. The number of months to get a payback turns out to be 4 months here, 300% IRR, and ultimately $2 million in savings over a 3-year time frame. And that's for just spending $136,000 to get to this particular area. So the business case is quite compelling. Look at the various different assets per machine. We can break it down to all these particular points as we went through. We can look at the ROI spending that we're saving here, various different numbers. So it starts to be significant in terms of how you can really represent things and bring things forward in terms of making it work. So what does it look like in the IoT area? To me, it's a lot very simple. I have a number of particular charts here. So here's just simply, we're looking at 8 or so machines. We've got metrics, availability, quality, performance, and obviously OEE tied together here, current status. So now we know what's going on. Good dashboard, good reasonable visibility. Or how about, let's look at asset utilization trends. We can look at individual machines over dates and times. In this case, it's per week, 3 particular weeks, but I can start to break that down by each of the individual machines or the overall plant. And now I can start to see and track what's in fact actually going on. So much more detail in terms of, again, having visibility out in the shop floor. Or maybe just a very simple, I want to have the 4 machines track exactly what's going on, easy to see up on a big screen. Or maybe I want detail in terms of an individual machine where I've got throughput on the right-hand side, current state of the machines, both job and shift information, videos going on at the machine level. Now I've got real information that I can see, in fact, actually what's happening. Or maybe I want event-related data. In this case here, I've got vibrations, temperatures, rapid overrides, feed rate overrides. I know exactly when they happened, when they changed, all tracked historically and in real time. So right now we're looking at it real time in terms of operations, but we can go back and run reports and Pareto charts and look at various statuses and figure out what's going on to therefore turn around and try and optimize our operations. Or maybe we want to be looking at this particular screen decided to not refresh on me. Okay, real-time demos. Or maybe we want to look at monthly state summaries in terms of tracking on a per month basis what actually happened. And this is dynamic for analytical purposes. I can remove the in-cycle areas. I can remove breakdowns. Now I can start to track in terms of what I'm really working with and get a visual view on a per machine or cell or basis in terms of what's actually happening. Or maybe I just want to have simple, better view in terms of scheduling what's going on the shop floor. In this particular case here, I've got a real-time chart in terms of the red line here, telling me which jobs are running on the machines, which ones are available to go. I can drag and drop and move jobs into the queue. But now I've got everything tied to exactly the machine, so I have knowing exactly when the job's going to end, and I can plan and work accordingly and schedule on a real-time type of basis. Or maybe I just want to have a simple status of each of the machines on the shop floor. And this is all running real time. Many plant managers like to see this because they get an idea. If everything's green, it's good. If it starts to be various different colors, then investigate what's happening. And you know exactly where to walk to and then get to the shop floor. Or maybe you want detailed information. In this particular case, single machine gantry mill. I've got job information on the left. I've got operation information on the right and center left, or center left. And then in center right, I've got machining details of metal removal rates, various different metrics. Frankly, we have 18 different metrics over 10 different time span, arguably 180 metrics that come out automatically from the system. And then I can track charts and graphs and see what's happening. And I really get a status in terms of what's going on the shop floor level. Or maybe I want to look at machining trends and temperatures and what's actually happening, track the trends per hour temperatures. This can be valuable in various different types of functions where temperature is critical to your manufacturing type of process. Or maybe you want to just look at a simple trend chart of, in this case, the trend is going down, I noticed, but at the end of the day, you've got sort of charting that you can do in terms of really getting a feel and understanding how your shop floor is working in terms of the right sorts of areas and operations. So if I move forward to what are some of the benefits that we're dealing with data-driven manufacturing? Well, there's productivity increases, there's machine health and proactive analysis, there's real-time monitoring, accurate delivery dates, real-time machine data. We have monitoring of information. Frankly, employee motivation is an interesting one. People like to know their targets, their direction, what they're working for, and they can pull those things up and really get sort of a better understanding in terms of how things are working in terms of the right sorts of way. Can stream data, traceability, there's reduced idle time, increased machine utilizations, track consistency of production. Simple little thing is data collection accuracy. That's a big problem in a lot of cases, but once you've got data collection accuracy, you can then start to apply this in the right ways that make sense to your business. So proactive emails and text messages, increased production in terms of better communicating and reporting accuracy, so that really everyone wins in all these types of areas. So let's look at some customer successes in terms of a precision machining company actually put our system in to do this type of work and save 25% savings across the whole plant. Aerospace company immediately got 11% increase in efficiency. Mazak, largest machine tool manufacturer in the world, their plant in Florence, Kentucky, is managed by our particular system, is running all the particular machines across their plant. They justified their project based upon a 6% expected improvement in efficiency. But after 6 months, they actually found it was a 42% improvement. They were blown away. And when they started to look at the root causes, the detail, it was very impressive just because they started to know what was happening and what was going on. Things like operator productivity and basically training properly operators, tooling availability, M01 program optional stops, various different things that were slowing production down. They started to see them, they could remove those and make it work fast. And this is, by the way, a YouTube video by their VP of manufacturing that describes exactly all the details that they did. So it's not just us in terms of saying that. Specialty machining group went from 25% to 60% OEE improvement. I've had lots of customers do over 100% improvement. The large aerospace company in Ontario actually went from 37% OEE to 85% OEE, which is actually 130% in improvement in efficiency. That saved them huge amounts in terms of their business, their operations, their capital flow, and so on. So large types of benefits are really applicable in many particular ways in terms of putting things together. Some key takeaway points. Industrial Internet of Things is actually being applied successfully in manufacturing today. So there is no reason to wait. You can apply this today as technology is here and now. It's available. You can really make it work. Does the business case make sense? Absolutely. 300% IRR, 4-month payback typically is the case. You can actually make these things work very effectively. The path is known, proven, and available now. I'm not going through the sales pitch in terms of our background and effort, but we've got 20, 30,000 machines that we've connected, implemented. We got hundreds of customers. We got huge amounts of experience we can help in terms of showing how we can put all this stuff together. The benefits of IoT are extremely compelling and really hard to overlook. So, but we also suggest strongly focus on the business outcome, hence the business case builder that we walk through here. Make sure it makes sense for you. It's got to be cost effective, it's got to be proven, and it really can drastically reduce the risk when you're running it today. A big issue is that connectivity of the machines, or the last meter problem. It's been solved. Your equipment can be connected today. How you use the data is a bigger issue in itself. And that's where sophisticated manufacturing operations management systems like ourselves can really start to track the detail, can be combined directly with your ERP system to complement the ERP system so that you're now dealing with accurate data from shop floor to top floor, really tying it all together at the top level as well as at the machine data level. Any type of equipment can be connected. So data can be cost effectively connected from all types of equipment and machines. Continuous improvement initiatives require real-time, accurate data to function. So that's the key trick here. It's data-driven manufacturing coming directly from the machine. There's a direct link to increase productivity and increase profitability, as I said right in the very beginning in terms of the presentation side. So now, how do you finance Industrial Internet of Things? We do have a section at the end to take lots of questions. I know I've covered a lot of material here relatively quickly, but at the end of the day, we can certainly answer and address questions. If you want copies of the presentation, certainly send us an email or a chat on our chat line that's available, and we can certainly assist you from that. So with that, I'll turn this over to my associate in terms of Igor Shugrin from here.
Well, thank you very much, John. It's a great question. Actually, before moving to our to the section that we're going to cover, like how exactly you finance this project. So, well, there are many ways, obviously, but I'm happy to tell you to share with you here that there's a lot of government funding programs that can help you to implement Industry 4.0 solutions. So we will walk through some of the most popular ones, but just wanted to tell a couple of words about myself and Fair Grant Writing. I'm an owner of the company and founded the company about 7 years ago. We've been solely focused on writing applications for government funding programs all these years, and we've brought millions of dollars to our clients, and happy to continue on this path and bring our customers even more funds. We have rigorous quality assurance process to make sure that our applications are of the highest quality and have the highest likelihood of being accepted by the government. And we employ top level business and technical writers. So enough talking about us. Let's see what actually you can get. So a couple of cases that are actually our clients. We've been able to secure $3 million in federal interest-free loan to an aerospace client, and over $300,000 in a non-repayable grant for another manufacturer. This is actually not the limit, the sky is the limit, as they say. For example, this particular company, unfortunately not our client, but a very good case. This company, this particular company in Manitoba, received about $100 million in government funding through through several programs. It's not just one program that provides them that much money, but the point is that the funding is there, and we'll talk more about the specific funds for Industry 4.0 and how you can use government funding to implement Industry 4.0 systems, i.e. hardware and software related to Industry 4.0. So we'll start with the program that is focused on helping manufacturers do the assessment and answer the question which Industry 4.0 solution is right for the company for its unique operations. It's one of the barrier for entering for adopting Industry 4.0 is unawareness of the business owners and manufacturing leaders about the particular solutions and how exactly which particular solution can fit their operations. So that's why this funding is there. But it's clear that Industry 4.0 is really transformative, and investing in Industry 4.0 can create outstanding results, just like John showed us in the first part of our webinar today. So the program that is here to help manufacturers to assess their needs and identify the right Industry 4.0 solution is CME Technology Assessment Program. For now, this program is only available for manufacturers in Southern Ontario. It may actually increase over time, expand over time, and also be available for manufacturers across Canada. I really look forward to it. The manufacturer must have between 15 and 500 employees. And what this program is for, again, it provides 100% of assessment cost, which is unheard of. I mean, I've been in the grant writing business for 7 years, and I've never heard of any grant that would pay 100% of the cost. If you're lucky, you could have gotten maybe 2/3 of the project cost paid by the government. In this case, it's clear priority for the government to retool manufacturers and make them more competitive, which is why they pay 100% of the cost of the assessment up to a maximum of $25,000. Now, this cost only covers the assessment by a qualified technical expert, and MEMEX is one of those qualified technical experts. So, by all means, take advantage of this opportunity if you qualify, if you represent a manufacturer located in Southern Ontario. Well, if you're not from Southern Ontario, don't give up. There are other avenues and programs how you can, implement Industry 4.0 solutions. This program, for example, Canada Job Grant, is a national initiative. So every single province has their own version of Canada Job Grant. In Ontario, it's Canada Ontario Job Grant. In Alberta, it's Canada Alberta Job Grant, etc., etc. The point is that you could get funding between 50 to 100% of the expenses that you spent on the training in a certain domain. So, for example, if you are about to implement Industry 4.0 solution, guess what? You will have some hardware expenses, software expenses, some consulting expenses, but you also have to make sure that your employees understand how to use the system and how to interpret the data. So that portion, that time, effort, salaries, and other expenses that you will spend on training employees how to use the systems and interpret the data, that part may qualify for Canada Job Grant, and again, you can get between 50 and 100%, depending on the size of your business and depending on certain variables. My goal is not to overload you with information that you don't need, but my goal is to give you the direction and at least share the names of the programs that may help you out. Next initiative, Eve's Landry AIM program is only again for Southern Ontario, but again, don't be disappointed if you're not from Southern Ontario. The previous program, Canada Job Grant, is for all other provinces. Now, if you are in Southern Ontario, what you can also do, you can apply for this program. Unlike a Canada Job Grant, it also covers the salaries of your employees while they are on training. Which may be quite significant actually. At this time, this program is only available for preliminary applications. That means you are encouraged to submit preliminary applications to, get to your spot in the line, because when the program gets more funding from the government, they will first of all work with those applicants that filled out preliminary applications. So even though currently this program is out of money, we do encourage you to submit preliminary applications to make sure that there's enough money for you when the program gets replenished. Let's now talk about the funding programs for hardware and software implementation. Obviously, Industry 4.0 is somewhat a combination of hardware and software. So for this reason, a couple of interesting programs that may help you out. First of all, Canadian Agricultural Partnership Program. It's actually not the one program, it's like an umbrella program for many sub-programs. And one of the sub-programs specifically incentivizes implementation of software and hardware. Now, you don't get confused with the word agricultural in the name of the program. This program may be used not only by farmers but also by food and beverage manufacturers. So if we have food and beverage manufacturers on this webinar, then this is the #1 program for you. There's no single intake period coast to coast because the intake dates vary from province to province. So I encourage you to check your local Canadian Agricultural Partnership Program for the information about intakes. But what's common between all provinces is that this program provides 35% of your software and hardware implementation project up to a maximum of $100,000. And in terms of eligible costs, not only hardware and software qualify, but also all the related tune-up, setup, training, consulting, all of that is qualified as well. If you are in automotive industry and if you're located in Ontario, this time anywhere in Ontario, south or north, it doesn't really matter. Another good program for you to consider is Ontario Automotive Modernization Program. Very successful program. The government currently closed the intake for this period, but the next one we expect in spring 2021. It doesn't mean that you have to wait spring 2021. The application forms are available, so you can start working on your application and have it ready for springtime. No reason to wait. This, in terms of the costs, it's similar structure as the previous one. The program pays 50% of software hardware implementation costs up to a maximum of $100,000. Again, only for automotive industry, located for the companies located in Ontario. Now let's talk about Quebec. Quebec has a program, a provincial program. It's called SME in Action, or PME en Action in French. The point of the program is to help local manufacturing technology companies in Quebec to implement software solutions. ERP software is one of the examples, but also all kinds of software that helps Quebec manufacturers to become more productive and efficient also qualifies for this program. And the government of Quebec currently provides 40% of the software project costs up to a maximum of $50,000. Now, if you are in Prince Edward Island, be aware that there's also a local program that helps you to implement software and hardware solution, and even maybe kickstart your e-commerce if it's applicable for you. The program provides 40% of the project costs up to 40,000, and then you can use this money for the software projects such as Industry 4.0. Now, if you're located in Newfoundland and Labrador, again, there's also local business development support program that you can use among others, among other projects for software and hardware. All the expenses such as cost of the software, implementation, consulting, labor, so all of that is included. And the government provides 75% of the project cost up to a maximum of 100,000. Now, if you haven't heard your province here, first of all, I wanted to remind you that there are some of the programs that we discussed here are federal. So any company anywhere in Canada can apply. Also, just because we have a very short timeline for this webinar, I couldn't go through all possible programs and scenarios. So I do encourage you to fill eligibility check form on our website at the end of the webinar, and then depending on your location, company size, in industry, we can most likely find one or two or maybe three programs that can help you to implement Industry 4.0 solution. And speaking of other opportunities, here on this slide, I listed bullet points of what kind of projects are eligible for government funding in general. The government doesn't provide you with a grant just because your company exists or just because it's located in a certain area. You always have to have a project, just like, for example, Industry 4.0 implementation. But also you can get the funding for purchasing equipment, for training, for hiring new employees, for developing your export sales and marketing your company outside Canada. Research and development, that's probably one of the largest category of government funding that exists in Canada. And last but not least, for business expansion. In many provinces, there are local incentives for manufacturers and tech companies to expand their plants and facilities. And Industry 4.0 project actually may be a part of your expansion budget. So it doesn't have to be only about building or about equipment. You can bundle software projects with expansion projects. And just keep in mind that the government doesn't provide operational funding, so that just doesn't exist in Canada. Quickly about the application process, what you need to do if you decide to apply for one of the Industry 4.0 funding programs. First of all, you have to clearly define what your project will include, what particular software, particular solution that you want to implement. Again, if you don't know what solution to implement and you are located in Southern Ontario, there is a CME assessment program that will help you to determine what you need exactly. Then you select the right government grant or loan program for you, and develop and then develop your application. However, to develop the application, you will need to request a proposal or quote from your vendor, because this is the information that goes to the application anyway. And assuming that you've written the application, you submit it to the government, you wait a little bit or a long time, depending on what kind of program you applied for. But eventually you will receive the response from the government. And if that response is positive, then you can start execution of your project. For example, implementation of Industry 4.0 solution. What's important to remember when it comes to government funding, especially government grants and loans, is that you absolutely must wait for the government approval before you can start your project or before you spend any money on the project. So just keep that in mind. It's very important to remember. And that concludes my presentation for today. In the bottom of the slide, you'll find the link to an eligibility check form that's located on our website. It's a free of charge tool that we use to at least tell you what kind of government funding programs you may qualify for. And then, well, if you need help with writing applications, happy to help. If not, wishing you all the best, and we'll support you along the way. And,
So just to,
yeah, go ahead, John.
Just to remind everyone, there is a chat window that you can ask questions to, and we'll certainly answer them as it comes forward. So feel free to ask any questions at this point. Steve asked this question: can you explain how the CME Technology Assessment Program works in conjunction with the MEMX Merlin solution? And which is an interesting one, and probably the best way to sort of answer that is, I'll pull up this is the website from CME on their technology adoption program. It's all about technology assessments and so on, and Igor described some of them. But notice in the highlight here, Industry 4.0 is transforming the world of manufacturing. The governments recognize that this is competitive edge. This is huge advantage to manufacturing. Take advantage of this technology and make it work. So this is all really out there and available. I have a number of particular projects underway using this particular program, so it's valid, it's current. Here's the trick. Yeah, not so much a trick, but here's the whole point. It's an assessment of technology. That's what CME really wants you to do. $25,000 isn't going to fund a full project, but it will fund an exceptionally good assessment so that you can look at the technology, see how it works, install our software on a machine or two, put together some dashboards, look at the reporting, do the analysis, go through the technical side, look at the various dashboards and reports, and we'll work with you to show you the benefits that's here. I already showed you the business case builder. We'll run through the business case building to make sure people understand that. We'll look at the rest of the machines across your shop floor. We'll assess the overall size of the scope of the project. We'll come together with a recommendation in terms of what the project costs will be, as well as what the benefits will be. And then you can actually go out and forward to other particular programs as Igor has described them. Another major one that's out there is NGen, and Jason Myers runs that particular group all across Canada in terms of different areas. And he's come to us directly and said, we are absolutely fitting to their type of technology because it's really moving technology forward that gives manufacturers a competitive edge. They will fund the larger projects in the multi-$100,000 type of range. So those programs are available in there, but it starts with getting started in terms of that effort. So that's one particular example. So I get another question from John here, but any software hardware grants available for Southwestern Ontario, and if so, they tied to a CME. I'm not quite sure I'm following that, because there are a number of other programs that Igor has described here, and I'm sure he can work through lots of the various different programs that are out there to put things together. So certainly that can work.
Probably I can also add to that CME assessment covers the entire Southern Ontario. That means everything south of Muskoka is eligible. That includes Western Ontario, Eastern Ontario, Greater Toronto area, and everything in between.
Good. Another question here from Fred. It seems you can connect to any machine, but what about workstations where no machine exists, but there's manual operations such as assembly or quality checking going on in terms of the efforts here? And in a good manufacturing operations management system, if it's worth the effort to track and to collect data at individual workstations, assembly stations, welders, and so on, absolutely yes. Our system is able to collect that, even though there may not be a physical industrial Internet of Things, IoT type of connection. There are various different sensors that you can put in terms of part counting sensors, in terms of timers that are running and so on, so that you can electronically connect these workstations, but you can also have operators hitting part count buttons and various different things as it makes sense. So there are ways to do this and track it, and the value of that data may be worth it in terms of your overall scheduling and costings and critical paths in terms of your projects and efforts. So at the end of the day, any workstation to any machine can be connected so that we can pull various different information together on that. I'll point out something else for Igor. Igor talked about Quebec. Quebec's got a lot of good programs that are out there too. They actually have a program buried only in the French language, I should point out, but in their website that is focused exclusively on Industry 4.0. And I do have a number of customers in the Quebec area that have taken advantage of this particular program. And Quebec is really strong about taking competitive advantage and making sure it works. They've got productivity groups. They've got centers of excellence. Centre technologique aérospatial in Saint-Hubert is all about aerospatial technologies. They use our systems, by the way, in terms of running their operations and really showing those operations through to other companies in terms of taking forward. So this whole technology and taking advantage of it, using the government resources that are there, is certainly easily available and can be done. So another question comes in here. Are these grants stackable with NRCs and EMIS grants? And maybe Igor, you should answer that one.
Absolutely. Yes, they are. And in fact, I don't see much overlap because EMIS grant is about energy efficiency in the nutshell, and it's not about trying to improve productivity of the machines or your operations. So there's even no overlap in scope. So absolutely, yes. The one particular applicant can use EMIS to review the energy efficiency of the facility, and then say CME program or one of the software programs to implement Industry 4.0 solution.
Another question that comes in here is, beyond getting connected to machines and people on board the project, what is needed for a manufacturer to embark on a successful continuous improvement effort? So, and that's an excellent question because it really takes it to the other level. It's one thing about having data, it's one thing about having connected, but you need to analyze the data. And I'll tell you, we've seen this through experience over the decades. It really takes the continuous improvement lean champions, people who want to think outside the box about their operations, question the status quo, and see about finding better ways. This is data that they can use to justify those projects. We see simple things like operators coming up to us and say, look at the data. This machine has been not running for 15 minutes every hour, this particular time, and it's because this particular relay is broken, and I've been saying it for 5 years. Now they're looking at the data and say, oh my gosh, he's right. Well, this is the simple thing to make that change. In that particular example, was something like a $4 fix to a major sort of effort that had a whole time factor. But no one was looking at it. No one was seeing it, even though the operators knew it. So you engage a continuous improvement people and collaborative effort with the operators to try and figure out what's going on. That's absolutely critical. It's not the only thing. You need your project champions to make it all work and connect, but you need people to drill down and look at the data and use the data in the right, effective way. And that's the world that we're into in terms of technologies at this point. Igor, is there anything more you want to comment on?
No, to be honest, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. Again, this is not everything that's available for Industry 4.0 and outside Industry 4.0 universe. I encourage you to take the opportunity and fill eligibility check form. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
And I guess we just did get another question in from Vanny here. What's the difference between Industry 4.0 and traditional forms of automation that already existed in manufacturing? Okay, well, I have presentations that start with that sort of detail, so there's lots of background here. Industry 4.0 is really meant to be an order of magnitude improvement in efficiency. And a lot of traditional automation is still at Industry 3.0. So Industry 4.0 is taking it to that next level, an order of magnitude improvement, which is huge. You just have to look to AMT, Association of Manufacturing Technology in the US. We're members of the AMT. They put together the MT Connect Institute and funded that project, put together to develop industry standards. And they're outlining that whole effort. They outlined that they saw this was a 10 times order of magnitude improvement in efficiency for manufacturing, just by having the right data in the right sorts of ways. So traditional automation is excellent. It makes the machines work. You got follow-on automation. You got all these things that connect and work. But now it's having the data to optimize that, to understand exactly what's going on. Data-driven manufacturing to really optimize the whole automation process, the people process, the materials movement process, everything to be involved with there. And that's what Industry 4.0 is taking it to that other level. With that, I believe we can bring this webinar to a close.
Oh, sorry, I think we just have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
It just came up. Let me just read it. Do government departments, this question from Marino, do government departments give more preference to grant funding to smaller companies who are looking to begin the digital transformation journey, or is just one factor in the review criteria? Great question. In fact, the answer is, in fact, yes. The government focus is on small to medium-sized businesses, as compared to the large businesses that, let's say, have over 500 employees. Typically, those large businesses, well, they still qualify for some programs, but they don't qualify for most of them, because most of them are still, designed towards helping small to medium-sized businesses. At the same time, it's also important to know that your company must be in business for at least a year, or better, 2 years, to be able to demonstrate your results and achievements to the government. Most of startups don't qualify, so it's important. So even though answer is yes, you still have to remember that you must be in business for at least a couple of years before you can apply for any of the government funding.
Which is true of a lot of manufacturers.
Yeah, which is good.
Good. Well, Igor, thank you for your insights on this, and thank our audience for attending. Hopefully we've been very helpful in terms of information. Do feel free to reach out for copies of the presentation, copies of the webinar video, and as well as I pointed out, we have a business case builder. We're more than happy to work with you to improve the business case first before addressing into the technology and aspects there. The technology is here, it can be made to work. You need to find a road to get there, and we're all here together to help you get to that particular point. So with that, I will call this in as, oh, that was interesting. That was not what I wanted to do.
And there's now a question about provincial funding programs in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. Some of them we covered during the program when we went through federal programs. Again, as I mentioned, some of them are coast to coast, so they work the same way everywhere. But again, by all means, the best way to find out which programs are right for you. If you are located in Alberta, in the Manitoba, Saskatchewan, I encourage you to check eligibility on our website, and we'll get back to you with a custom list of programs that are for you.
Good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.